there have been three or four times where I've thought, no, this is really not for me. I wouldn't be happy with myself in the future if I just gave up because it got difficult. These situations were just difficult, not, unbearable for me. So, yeah, quitting's not really in my remit, to be honest.
Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee and certified mentor, now a Mentor Plus. With over 11 years of experience and over 1,400 matches under my belt, you can find me at refsneedlove2.com, on Instagram, on TikTok, and now on YouTube. Today, we are going to be interviewing one of my favorite channels on social media right now, Eric, the creator of Behind the Whistle, that's what it's called, a former professional goalkeeper, who are always great referees, who spent years inside the game experiencing football under pressure. After stepping away from playing, Eric took an unconventional path, swapping the gloves for the whistle to see the game from a completely different angle. Now, an active referee, Eric is working his way up the officiating ladder with a clear ambition to reach the professional game. Big goals! Through Behind the Whistle, he shares the reality of refereeing week in and week out, the pressure of big decisions, the scrutiny that comes with authority, and the moments that test composure when everything's on the line. It's an honest, behind-the-scenes look at a side of football most people never see. What makes Eric's journey compelling is that it's unfolding in real time. Rather than speaking, from the top, he documents the process as he moves up, the setbacks, the learning, and the drive to prove himself in a different role. Behind the Whistle is about more than refereeing. It's about leadership, accountability, and performing under pressure when there's nowhere to hide. Eric, man, welcome to the pod.
Man, thanks for having me. So excited. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, you're excited. I'm excited. I think it's so fun when I get to interview people that legitimately I'm a fan of. I kid you not. While I was sitting here waiting for this to go, I was just scrolling TikTok a little bit, and one of your videos popped up. And it's like, man, it's such a great video. So can I just set the scene and just tell you real quick? So the video that I just saw, the one you recently posted, was a situation where, again, you're a referee. This is for lack of a better term, adult men's competitive matches, right, in England. And you are a single referee. You don't have proper assistance. You got club linesmen. And there are some shenanigans that happen behind the play, pushing and shoving, words being said. But you legitimately don't see it because the play has switched fields. And in the video, and I'm sorry, I'm still not gonna, but in the video, you show the reality of, taking these two players aside. You didn't see what happened, and you're like, hey guys, I didn't see it, and you're being honest and transparent, but I know something happened. Hey, I don't want to have to send you off. Can you guys not do that or whatever? And the words are used, but it was so calm, and you took them, you're dealing with adult men who can be really upset. And gosh, I tell you, Eric, it's a side of the game that no one sees. Can you talk to us about that moment and what you were thinking at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right, nobody ever gets to see how referees actually interact with players. So I always try and relay what it is I'm saying to players and what they're saying to me so people can get a feel for it, even though we're not technically allowed to wear a microphone during the game. So basically that game was my first game in a new division. So that was the second lowest level you can referee at in England. So I'd only been refereeing about 6 months at this point, and that was my first game in a new division. And the game was starting to get very, very heated. I probably wasn't quite well equipped enough for that level of match. It was a local derby, very physical game out in what we call the Forest. And I'd heard this commotion. These guys are obviously tussling, I don't see it. And I basically said, well, you two come here, not knowing at all who it was. And the one guy started walking over to me, and then he points at the other guy as if to say, mate, you've caused this. And so I know exactly who they both are. And I just said, I was like, guys, I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen it. But I know that something has happened based on a commotion. So basically, if I see anything like that at all, any kind of physical violence, then I'll have to send you off. Can we just shake hands and get on with it? So they shake hands, pat each other on the back, and off we go. And I think it just kind of showed how down to earth football can be, And if you haven't seen it, you can just say you haven't seen it, and players will respect you more than trying to make things up,
Oh, brother, can I just tell you how unbelievably refreshing that is? I mean, first off, again, I just want to say for all my American colleagues here, we're talking to a guy who has only been refereeing for 6 months, but he is doing competitive men's matches in England, and he's got these type of game management skills. Like, game management is something that takes many years to develop for most referees, but you're coming from playing semi-professional football, so you almost know kind of, hey, I want to be the referee these guys don't have. Can you talk to us a little bit about this channel you have, Behind the Whistle? Again, it's on YouTube, it's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, wherever social media videos are found. Talk to us about what it is that you do there. For those who haven't followed your channel, haven't watched your videos, like I have religiously for the last 6 months, what are you doing there? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so to put it simply, I film every single match that I referee, and then on the YouTube channel I break down every decision that's worth talking about. I talk about it. So I share basically what I'm learning, what I do well, what I do not so well, and basically all the things I'm learning week to week. That's the simplest form. And then on the short form TikTok, Instagram side, there are shorter breakdowns that naturally don't give as much context because you don't have the time, but it just shows every decision that I make during a game that's worth showing. The reason I started it was because now I've been refereeing for 2 years and I've been doing the channel for over a year now. And when I started to referee, like most people, I went to the internet to find out, bits and bobs, how to learn, what should I be doing, what do I need to take to my first game, like all these things that, you think of when you're a new official. And to be frank, there's not a lot out there at all. I could probably name on one hand the amount of creators there are that actually do this. And so me and my friend Nick, who I run the channel with, were talking, and we were like, man, like if we're looking for help and it's not out there, why don't we just create our own channel, document the journey, and then hopefully, one, players can see what I was thinking, and maybe they'll have a bit more grace about my mistakes, and two, maybe other officials will want to watch and it'll help them feel more confident, set up some answers they've got. And so yeah, we decided to just start ourselves, and that's been it. So for the past year, I filmed every single men's football match that I've done and put it online. Yeah.
Man, I tell you, and for those who haven't seen it, again, I'm just telling you, you're going to want to look up Behind the Whistle right now on YouTube and on TikTok, Instagram, whichever platform you're on, because you're not just posting your highlight reel of your great calls. You're actually posting, like, these are challenging scenarios. Like, this happened, I wasn't in a good position. Hey, then this happened afterwards. There's a lot of things to consider. And again, it's not a glory channel. Hey, look at me. It's reality. It's honesty. It's transparency. And I think that's what makes it so good. As a fellow referee, Eric, I watch this and I'm like, oh man, I've so been in that scenario, and it's just so valuable to me. But beyond referees, I mean, when you do this, do you get engagement from, managers, from players, from spectators? What are they saying about what you do?
Yeah, I get engagement for everybody in the game. Everybody that's involved in football, any type of role you could take up in football, I've met them, spoke to them, had feedback from them. The messages are really mixed. For the most part, they're really positive. I've never ever had an issue with players, maybe one time in one match, but for the most part, players actually really respect what I do. And it even helps because there are games that I turn up to where I don't know anybody, and they're like, "You're the ref that does the videos." And I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, mate, I really love what you do. And suddenly you've got a relationship with that player on the pitch now. Managers, for the most part, are really happy because a lot of what people say is that referees at the lower levels have no accountability, right? There's no one there watching them. All they get is the feedback from the clubs. And a lot of people think the clubs are biased anyway, so do they really take into account what they're saying about referees? So it's like, well, if you're going to film your game and put it all online, you know what, fair play to you sort of thing. So yeah, I get feedback from a lot of people. Not everybody's a fan. People think that because you're filming the game, you're trying to make it about yourself. But I always say, if you took half an hour out of your day to watch my videos, you'd see very quickly that that's not the case. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I think it's so good, and it's again, what you're doing. Okay, can we just address that comment? It's all about you. Like, that's such a common trope, tripe. I forget. I don't know what the right word is. Trope maybe, but it's such a common refrain that people say that. It's like you there are moments in the time you do want it to be about me when you need me to make, a call, a big call. But,
Yeah.
95% of a match, I'm silent. I'm just there as a facilitator and an observer. But, again, what you're doing is you're showing the realities of being a referee at this level, and that, mistakes do happen. And yes, we do miss things, and that's a
Yeah.
that's a part of it, and we're normalizing that, which is so cool. And of course, what you're doing is humanizing the referee, which is so important too. That you are a human being, that you do have emotions and feeling, and you're sensitive to what's going on out there. I'll tell you, man. I mean, so you mentioned the haters, which by the way, there's always going to be haters. I mean, Eric, you've gotten to meet like professional referees now, like Premier League refs, like, FIFA referees are now participating in your channel. So, I mean, obviously someone in England is saying, hey, this guy's doing good work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the power of the internet. Like, we live in such a crazy time that you can post a video online and you can reach millions of people. It's just absolutely, like, I'll never wrap my head around it, I don't think. And yeah, so like, there's a guy called Jan Peter, who used to be a UEFA assistant referee, and he reached out to me following one of the videos that he'd seen. And he was in England with his son doing a road trip around England watching Premier League football. And he was like, look, we have one day where I'm free. I'd be more than happy to come down and watch and give some feedback. And it's just like, man, like, that is insane. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, I feel very honoured, and it's really cool because another referee called Jonas Eriksson, who refereed, in the World Cup, the Euros, the Europa League, like probably the best referee that Sweden has ever had. He messaged me on Instagram because he's seen a video, and he sent me his book and encouraged me and saying that we need more transparency for the game. And so just like the idea that these people are seeing the videos and they support it and they want to see refereeing and the game in general grow is just, yeah, it's a real encouragement. And it definitely helps when the negative comments come in, you just revert back to all the positive ones that you get, because that's ultimately why we do it.
1,000%, and my wife reminds me of that all the time.
Yeah,
Because I'll get hate mail from time to time, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, she's like, dude, you literally get like, 99% of the comments I get are positive, or the messages I get. Just focus on those. There's always going to be trolls. I'm curious though about your fellow referees or your local referee association. Are they also supportive of the videos? Because again, historically, everyone's like, just shut up, don't say anything, you're just there to ref and leave, don't comment. Have they been supportive of you too?
Yeah. So in England we have what are called county FAs, so almost like your state associations, but even smaller. And my county FA, Gloucestershire, has been very, very supportive, which has been wonderful. And they've even made the referee course more accessible price-wise for people in my county to take the course if they come through the channel, which has been brilliant. I had one league that the referee secretary threatened to take me off the league unless I stopped filming, as to which I basically said, like, no. No, and the county FA supported it and basically said that obviously can't happen. Like, he's completely within his rights to film if the clubs give permission. But a lot of the pushback I got from fellow referees was more for the fact that they were concerned for me, and it was more out of like fear that, like, mate, this is not going to end well for you if you do this, which I completely understand, and I appreciate them trying to protect me. But my experience so far is it's been 99% positive, and so I'm glad that I carried on. Even things like I even post my observation reports. So anytime an observer comes out to watch me, I will post the entire report. I'll read through it all with everybody and show people how referees get graded, what the comments are like. And I was told, you can't do that, that's a private document, etc., etc. Then you ask somebody and they're like, no, like, it's yours, you can do what you want with it. But it's just like a lot of unwritten rules that you're supposed to follow as a referee. But for me, if you want to grow the game, I think you should show exactly what it's like, show people what it's really like. And then the people who are getting into it are not going to be surprised and shocked when they get there. They're going to be more well equipped.
Listen, I 1,000% agree. I think the whole idea of us staying silent and not sharing our experiences only hurts referees. It hurts recruitment. It hurts development. You're stunting people's growth. We should be sharing the realities of what it's like to be a referee, the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly. People empathize. I mean, I posted a video last night, and it was like, it was a throwaway video. I got in my car after freezing my butt off for 4 hours out on the pitch for my first high school match of the season, and I think I made a mistake because we're running, believe it or not. Okay, this can blow your mind, in England. For high school, in many associations in America, instead of a one single ref or a 3 ref system, a referee and 2 assistants, they run a dual referee system with 2 whistles. And you literally cover like an entire sideline in the middle of the pitch and halfway. So you got fouls and offside, but from these really weird angles. It's bananas, insane. I'm telling you. And, my first games of the season, like the first 20 minutes, I'm just like, what the hell am I doing out here? I mean, I did record the match, so I can't wait to look at the video, but I'm scanning like I'm Messi, man. I'm like constantly turning my head around like every 5 seconds. Where am I supposed to be? What's going on? This is crazy. And I was freezing my butt off. It was, in Celsius, it was like 1 or 2 degrees. So it was like 34, 35 degrees here. It was really cold and windy. And so, I posted that, and people are like, oh man, like I totally feel you. Yeah, I've been there, all this kind of stuff. People want to know that other people are going through what their experience is, because as a referee, it can be a really lonely thing, an isolating thing. You get assigned, you're an independent contractor, you go to the field and you leave, and there might be another referee like in my situation, but it's not like you're, talking throughout the whole match. I mean, you're doing your job, they're doing their job, and then you leave. So it's nice to have a place to communicate and, see experience. I'm actually curious about your experience, because you're still only a couple years out of being a player. When you first put on that referee badge after, being a player, a goalkeeper, the best players there are, what surprised you the most, when you became a referee?
Oh man, you have to be so fit. I know it sounds ridiculous from someone that played football as a job, but as a goalkeeper, you don't do as much running as you'd expect. And I could not believe how much ground you need to cover to get into the positions that you need to get into. You're running like anywhere between like 7 to 11, maybe 12 kilometers a game, depending on the level that you do. Yep. And that a lot of that is walking and sprinting. So it's not like a nice continuous smooth jog. Right, you'll be walking, you'll be sprinting, you'll be running backwards, sidestepping. Like there's so many different movements, and I just didn't realize how quick even the worst level of football is. Like when you watch it from the sideline, it feels so slow. You're like, wow, this is like watching paint dry. And then when you're in it, God, it feels 100 miles an hour. So it was really humbling, because as a player, you think, man, like, can these referees not just get it right? And then you step out there and you're like, whoa, yeah, this is a completely different kettle of fish, right? And suddenly I'm in charge. Like they're all looking at me like I know what I'm doing. It's crazy.
Yeah, I will say that the movement thing is fascinating. So last night in my high school match, the boys match that I had, mind you, this was shortened halves a little bit because it was a scrimmage. And I'm dealing with a hamstring problem right now. And last night I could not get it loose. So this is without any high level sprints. In one match, I did 5.62 miles. And that is all walking and jogging, not even like sprinting down the pitch. 5.62 miles, which I think is around like 8 or 9 kilometers. Yeah. And that's, low level. I think what other people don't understand too is that in a low level match, if you've got 2 teams that don't have great dribblers on the ball, well, then it's like kickball, and it's like back and forth and back and forth. And you actually wind up running more in higher sprints sometimes than a higher level match where it's predictable and they have possession and it's like a patient build-up. It's like, it can be really crazy. I remember I had a mercy rule game in a high school match, a girls' game where they like, we call it mercy rule. We literally stopped the game after 40 minutes because they scored like 12 goals in the first 40 minutes of the game at 12-0. But I ran over 3 miles because literally the team who would kick off, who was awful, would kick it as far as they could, and then the other team would immediately go all the way back down the pitch, like, ding, 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 and I'm like running to keep up with play. It was crazy. So yeah, man, the fitness thing will shock you, and it is a different kind of fitness, as you said, from anything else. It's not like a marathon runner, and it's certainly not explosive movements like a goalkeeper. I mean, it's like a box-to-box midfielder type of thing.
Yeah, and it's so hard because as well, it's the mental concentration that you also need to have, even though you're tired. And I know that players have to deal with that as well, which I know, firsthand. But the difference is when you play, for most people, they've played the sport their entire life, or maybe from at least the time they were 6 or 7 or 11 or 12, whatever. Like they've played the game at some point. So there's some element of that is just second nature to you. You know what you're doing because you've been around it so much. I think people forget, like, nobody grows up refereeing. Nobody's been refereeing since they were 6. So you start out and it's like a completely new skill. You're tired, you're stressed, and you're trying to make a decision. Like it's so difficult, especially when a lot of these referees are either really, really young, like 14, getting into refereeing, or they're people that are older, right, that no longer play and they want to give back to the game, and they're in like their 60s, 70s, some of them even. Yeah, it's really remarkable how people do it, to be honest.
Yeah, that is such an unbelievable insight that you just had about like soccer players again playing from like 3 years old, 4 years
Mm.
old, something of nature. It's pretty innate, and you kind of never lose that skill. Us as referees, for many people who don't start until later in life, it's a completely new skill set.
Yeah.
It's You're seeing the game from a completely different perspective. It is so different from being a player. That's a fact. But
Yeah.
but talk to me about, so you were a goalkeeper again, the best player on the pitch by far, the most important player, the MVP.
I agree.
How has being a player or a goalkeeper, how do you think that has prepared you to be a referee?
Yeah, a few ways. One, when you're a goalkeeper, you do work as part of a team, but ultimately you do work by yourself a lot as well. You're trained by yourself. You'll have your own separate coach sometimes, depending on the level you play at. So you're kind of used to operating by yourself, and equally in a match, you're very much the unsung hero as well, right? Like you do everything right, great, good job, well done. If you make a mistake, then it's all your fault. We just lost 1-0, and you let the ball through your legs. Like no one's ever going to forget that it was your fault. And I think that refereeing is very, very similar. If you do a relatively good job, you kind of go unnoticed. No one really says much. They just say thank you. But if you make a mistake, it's the spotlight is on you very, very much. So I think the pressure of making mistakes is something I was used to and weirdly enjoy. But then two is the communication side of things. For me, it's like when playing as a goalkeeper, I was very much used to communicate with my team, and you watch the game a lot more than a player would. Typically, you've got a lot more downtime to read the game, talk to your players, and so I find that having played as a goalkeeper and just played in general, I feel like I can talk to the players in a way that they talk, in a way that they understand. You know, because it's a tough balance between using like language that comes from law and then using language that players understand. Right? I think that's an important skill to try and develop.
Oh my gosh, man. It's so funny you said that line about, you make a mistake and, it's on you. And sometimes I enjoy that. Like there is a certain type of person who wants the pressure on them, who
Yeah.
wants it to be their responsibility, who wants to be on that line, when, you've got to come up with a big save. It's a different type of person who chooses to be a goalkeeper, and can handle the mental side of that. And I do think I've said this many times. I think goalkeepers make phenomenal referees for exactly the reasons that you listed there. I did have a question though. So I was perusing your YouTube channel, and I came across a video title and a phrase that I'm very interested to hear your perspective on. You used a phrase called safe refereeing. Okay, and I've
Yeah.
heard it used a couple times, and I feel I have an understanding of what it means to me, but I've never discussed it with anyone. I would love to
Mm.
hear what you consider to be safe refereeing, and is that something that's discussed within England, within your local football association or referee association, as a advice to guide and encourage referees to do safe refereeing?
Yeah, I think it means different things to different people. I'd never really heard that. I'd heard the term when I started refereeing, but I kind of didn't really grasp what it meant. And then I went to a referees meeting where a current championship referee, which is the second division in England, came to do a talk, and the whole topic was on safe refereeing. He was called John Busby, and it was fascinating because, again, what I think players and coaches and things don't realize is even referees have different styles, just like players do. For me, I'm not particularly a safe referee. If there's a foul and I could give a foul, I will still think, can I play advantage here? Can I let the game carry on? Whereas some people will think, well, there's a foul there, I'm just going to stop the game. I'll give the game a chance to stop. And I think the best referees will obviously pick and choose depending on the scenario. But for me, safe refereeing, the way it's described is give a decision that doesn't allow basically anything controversial to happen and it be your fault, or 2, give whatever everybody here watching is expecting you to give. Don't do anything that's kind of a surprise. So let's say a defender is running back towards his goalkeeper with the ball and the attacker puts his hand on his back and it could be a push. Well, safe refereeing there would be give the foul, because if he scores and it ends up being it should have been a foul, then that's a massive consequence, rather than if you just give a defensive free kick, no one's going to end up talking about that. So that's how I understand it. But it's a concept that I'm trying to learn because it just doesn't sit right with me all the time. I really think sometimes I see something like it's not a foul. I don't care if everyone expects that to be a foul, like it's not a foul. But that's something that I'm learning, right? Like I said, I've only been doing it 2 years. I've got a lot to learn, but that's how I would interpret safe refereeing. And I would say the best referees use it in the right context.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Foul selection is, again, talk about one of these things that takes a long time to get comfortable with, right? When you're a player, everything against your team is a foul. Literally. Yeah. How's it not a foul? How's it a foul? What? And then, obviously you never hear them advocating for fouls to be called against their team, right? But it's a challenge. What is a foul? And then when is it a foul? Right? You brought up a really interesting scenario. So a defender in their defensive third, facing their own goals, getting a little bit of a push from behind, and maybe it's a continuous type of push. In the middle of the field, you're waiting to see, can they play it? Hey, it looks like they're fine with the contact. It's really not a big deal. Let it play on. But in their defensive third, man, if they lose their ball there and you don't blow that whistle, and it winds up being a goal, then all of a sudden you've got a key match incident. Everyone's upset. The game starts getting away from you. So it is a thing, practicing safe refereeing. I would also say too, and I advocate for this all the time, at the beginning of the match, look for fouls. Make sure they know you will call fouls. I think that's safe refereeing, because honestly, if you don't call fouls early, then the game escalates and you get this crescendo of energy and frustration, and the game gets out of hand, and then you have to try and bring it back, and it can be very difficult because everyone's nerves are frayed at that point and emotions are on edge and everyone's upset. So for me, safe refereeing, definitely being sensitive to those areas where it could be a key match incident, being proactive early in the match without a doubt, and then also just again, keeping that bar low in the games where you think the bar needs to be low. I mean, reading that, feeling that, age level, experience, ability, all plays into that. But I saw that phrase and I was so curious about, how you would interpret it, how they were explaining it there. Can we talk a little bit about dissent?
Absolutely, we can.
I mean, so you ref, and for lack of a better phrase, English Sunday League, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're dealing with, not professional men. Okay, so these guys, everyone's got jobby jobs, and they're coming to the pitch, and this is, it's a cultural thing, in England, what not to do. They might be a pub league type team, their local, county team, whatever it is. And, these men, out there, emotions can run high really quick, and it also can run high towards the referee. And Sunday League is kind of notorious for the dissent that gets thrown towards the ref. So talk to me about how you live within that, how you deal with that, how you deal with it personally, but also how you deal with it within a match.
Yeah, gosh, it's such a can of worms. Again, it's a difficult one because I do think that referees will have a different tolerance of what they are happy with on the pitch. And again, it does reflect on the level. So for example, like if I'm not refereeing adults and I'm refereeing kids, my tolerance for dissent is so much lower because it's like I'm trying to teach them almost how to act and, what they need to learn basically when things get stressful and when they get upset. Like there's a different way to deal with it. But with adults, there are a few ways to deal with it. One, depending on the players, is you could make it into a joke and give a bit back to them. If they say, ref, like, how have you missed that? You can say, well, how have you missed the last 3 passes? And they're like, yeah, fair enough. And then that's the end of it. But I think it's about understanding whether it's actual dissent, like persistent dissent, or whether it's an outburst of like shock or surprise from the player. So they get fouled, you don't give the foul, and they're like, ref, that's a foul. To me, that's not dissent. 2 minutes after it's happened, they're coming over to you and they keep going on about it. Then that to me is then crossing the line into dissent. It's like, but mate, the moment's gone. Now you're just protesting the decision. Like, you kind of need to stop, otherwise I'm going to have to send you off for 10 minutes. And that's another thing in England is we have the sin bin. So if somebody commits an act of dissent and the referee shows a yellow card, they go off the pitch for 10 minutes in adult football. So it's almost like a temporary dismissal, they call it, in the laws of the game. That to me is a big enough deterrent sometimes than actually showing the card, because who wants to put their team down to 10 men? Yeah. And I even made a post about it that teams actually, because I use Ref 6 like you do, and I looked at my stats and teams concede 25% more goals when they're down to 10 men than when they've got 11 at my level. So I made a post about it and I had managers coming like, is that really true? I'm like, yeah, when you go down to 10 men, you concede 25% more goals than you do when it's 11v11. So it has a real impact. What I will say, though, is dissent from players, again, is completely different from dissent from the sideline. Like, you can talk to players and you can manage players, but if I have to walk all the way over to the bench because you're causing a problem, then it'll just get dealt with. I'm not really in the business of walking across to the benches to have a chat. You know, it's like a long way away. If I can hear you persistently, it's too much. But again, each ref will have their own style. But yeah, dissent is a difficult one to deal with. And it often gets confused with fan abusive language. You know, a lot of the time you'll give a yellow for dissent and they'll be like, ref, he didn't swear at you. It's like, no, it's a good job he didn't. Because it's a good job he didn't, because if he'd have swore at me, then it could have been different. And so it's important not to get those two confused. You know, fan abusive language and dissent are not the same thing. You know, it's really not the same thing. But yeah, it's one of those where temperature of the game, the type of players you're playing, refereeing, it all has an effect on how you deal with it. But there are lots of different tools you can use. You know, how do you deal with it? You must come across it a lot in. You know, if you referee a lot of youth, there's a lot of feelings that get coming around. So how do you deal with it?
Yeah, you know, again, I even in my pre-match, I try and set expectations. You know, I tell people, hey, you know, I communicate a lot as a referee. You'll hear me if I feel like I need to explain what I saw. I'll say it out loud. If you've got a question, you know, in a calm voice at the next stoppage of play, ask me and I'll tell you what I saw. But you know, you may not like what I say, but you need to respect the decision and play to the whistle. So I start even pre-match. In my pre-match check-in speech, and I try and tell people that. And then, you know, if I get someone who, you know, in the match, maybe they're not even being like really over the top, but they just like they're questioning decisions, you know, then it's a time for a conversation. And my favorite phrase is, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Okay? I'm being, you know, please, you have a question, you know, okay, but now it's happening, you know, multiple times. You're entering dissent. I won't use that many words. I'll be a lot quicker. But that's my phrase. And I'll try and say it, you know, nice and calm. But certainly, if I've got someone who is going to raise their voice and come at me with a very vocal dissent, like at me, maybe early in the match I might be able to talk through it. But no, I'm perfectly fine. I'll even have a conversation and be like, hey, what you said is unacceptable. It's dissent. So I'm going to show you a card right now. I'm going to ask you, you know, to please, you know, mind your tone, you know, and stay focused on the match as opposed to my decisions, respect the call. And then I'll show them a card. I mean, again, there's all sorts of different ways to do it, but I'm trying to model the behavior. I do love what you do, and I've seen it in your videos a number of times, where you take a walk with the player and move them away from everyone else, right? Because sometimes it's performance art. Like they're performing, they're trying to show that they're angry in their dissent, you know, and they want everyone to see that they're upset. And I love it. You take them to the side, and you're having a calm chat between two human beings, right? Yeah. You know, you're trying to get their blood pressure down, you're trying to get their breathing back to a normal rate, you're trying to get them to have a conversation as opposed to an argument. I'm a big believer that if you add fuel to the fire is going to grow. You know, I try and take that energy and that anger out and get them out of that moment, and I have a lot more success. Yeah, and same thing with coaches as well, man. You know, there's a time like, you know, that I could give a warning, you know, and hey, it's like, hey, coaches, I'm hearing, you know, persistent dissent. Every call, I'm hearing something, you know, cut it out. That's your official warning. And then next time I'm going over there, hey, you know, you've engaged in persistent dissent. That's it. And if they try and no, this is not about my calls. Okay, this is about your behavior. It needs to stop now, and that's it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that I've had a lot of experience, like in a corporate setting, dealing with conflict, and as a leader and as a manager. I was a sales trainer, so I dealt with conflict resolution and negotiating tactics and dealing with difficult people. But again, I think this is one of these things that is so powerful, and I honestly, I would love to see you add audio to your
Stay tuned.
to your video, man. I'm telling you, I'm very close to it. I'm getting a set of microphones this Sunday, a 6-person comm system, and I'm gonna find a way to like connect those comms to my camera so I can start capturing that, because I think that interpersonal communication between the referee and the players is so valuable to pass on and pay forward to other referees who are trying to learn, because it's just
100%.
That's gold, man. That game management
really
right there, it is gold.
It really is, because any time you talk to a top level official, it's like 90% of what they talk to you about. That's what I've found anyway. Any top level official I've had the pleasure of speaking with, they're always talking about the interactions they have on pitch. It's not about the decision,
right?
Like, it's about the position first, because if you're in the right position, that helps you make a good decision. Everyone can see a foul for the most part. It's just are you in the right place? But then almost all the time, it's how did you deal with that situation?
Yes.
It's golden, and that's the beauty of what you've got in the US is in England we're not allowed to use communication systems until you get to a certain level. So until you're refereeing the professional game, you can't wear a communication set. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely not possible for us to record audio, because obviously wearing a mic would be against the laws of the game. But yeah, I think that'd be absolutely brilliant, because it's just so valuable, because you don't. It's like mystical. Like you have no idea what the referee's saying to players. No one has any clue.
Right.
So it'd be so cool to see that.
Yeah. So in the United States, a little different. So it is kind of banned. U.S. soccer has put out a ban specifically for U.S. youth soccer. So anything that is under USSF is the acronym here. So a youth game, I can't use communication systems, but we can use it in like Sunday league, men's games, no problem. You could use it at the college game, high school, you can use communication systems. So that is one benefit. And I'm actively trying to get them to allow it for the youth game here in the U.S. In the U.S., every single referee has to be a regional referee. Mind you, we have 140,000 certified referees in the United States, and only 990 of them are regional. So to have 3 regionals on a match, you're talking about like 0.00001% of games. So it's like it's impossible to get a game like that to have comms. But so there is. So for some leagues we can have it, and it is out. I mean, well, I don't know if you have the experience, but it is so valuable when you're working with a crew to be all connected and be talking. It is just, oh my gosh, I can't even describe. It is so helpful to be able to do that. I think it's just a fantastic thing. Yeah, so I do have a couple questions for you. Just one thing that's unique about Sunday League, and I think it's such a fascinating thing that I want to hear you talk about, is the club linesmen. Okay? So for those who don't know, man, so when you're doing these Sunday League games, okay, it's not like you got a 3-person crew where you've got, 2, qualified, proper assistant referees out there helping you manage offside, helping you manage the sidelines, helping you manage, goal line decisions. It is you and 2 random dudes who have been appointed by their club. Could be a player, could be some other random person who just hangs out at the club that runs the line for them. I mean, can you talk about club linesmen for us, your experiences with that, the good and the bad?
Oh man, I love them and I hate them all at the same time. It's such a love-hate relationship. Like, a good club official can honestly completely transform a game for you, and a bad one can make it almost impossible to manage. Yeah, in England, we have a history of using club assistants, but not in every county. This is, again, where it's interesting. So I'll just refer to it as like a state. So state to state, county to county, we do things differently. So in my county, we absolutely use club assistants in every league up until you get 3 officials. In other parts of the country, in other counties, the referee will do everything by themselves, offside, everything. Which I cannot imagine calling offside by yourself. Like, you have to adopt such a different position. But anyway, in my county, we use club assistants. So naturally, when it's close, the flag just goes up, right? Because if it's even remotely close, the flag's just going to go up for the most part. There are club assistants that treat it like they are an actual referee, and it is brilliant. Like, they are so helpful. Equally, because if they give a decision against their own team, the team... Sorry, so if a club assistant gives a decision against their own team, that team cannot argue with you whatsoever. Because, well, your own assistant, who's inclined to cheat to help you, is giving it against you. So it's just a no-brainer, right? But the problem is when a decision doesn't go that team's way, it's like they're a cheat. They're a cheat. And it's like, well, no, making a mistake doesn't make you a cheat automatically. So it's so difficult to manage. And also, that club assistant can change during the game. So if it's a substitute, you may do your best by giving pre-match instructions to the substitute that's doing it. But if his teammate gets injured 10 minutes into the game and he goes onto the pitch, then someone else goes to do it. And realistically, you're going to stop the game every time to go and explain to that new club assistant, everything they need to do when it could change 5-6 times. It's really, really complicated. But some clubs have a dedicated club assistant every week, and so that's a lot better. But when it's just a substitute or someone's dad or whatever, it can be pretty chaotic. Yeah, it can be pretty chaotic to please everybody.
Oh my gosh, I honestly, I have so much empathy, and I feel so bad for you, because again, if you have someone you can't trust on the line for you, it is brutal as a referee. It's brutal. Yeah. If their mechanics aren't right, you're not sure what they're calling, they're completely out of position. You got a goal line decision and you look over and they're 20 yards up the line. Same thing for offside. Again, you got an offside decision and they're completely out of alignment with the second to last opponent. Man, it hurt. Again, we were talking about game management and match credibility and dissent. It's like, gosh, it's like, I don't know. And then you could have someone who does make an unscrupulous decision, to help their team. And it's like, what do you do? It's like, and you're ultimately the responsible referee, and they're looking to you. And I'm like, I can't tell. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And it puts you in a really horrible spot, because it's almost like simulation. If you think someone is simulated, you're basically stopping the game, giving the card, and saying you've just tried to cheat. Right? Like it's such a bold decision to give, because you're calling out their actions and in some way their character in a way. And so it's the same thing when a club assistant does something and you completely overrule them, which I've done a couple of times when it's really glaringly obvious to me. But it puts you in such a difficult spot, right? Because you're either saying, like, I think you've got it wrong and I just see it differently, but if it's really glaring, they know that you just think that they're not being honest, which is sometimes true, but for the most of the part, no. Most of the time people are great, but you'd be naive to think that people don't see things in a certain light because it's their own team, even whether they know it or not.
They're human.
yeah, exactly.
And they might be a teammate. They might be on the team.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you see what you want to see sometimes.
Oh my gosh, brother, my gosh. So it's a powerful question for you. Looking for your feedback, and you're a very transparent dude. But you've been reffing now for 2 years. Have you ever left a game thinking, why do I do this? And like, what keeps you coming back week to week?
Yeah, a few times. And not as often as people would think. I would say I felt like that 3 or 4 times in a couple of 100 games that I've really thought, that just was not enjoyable in the slightest, not worth it. I didn't enjoy it. The first time it ever happened is I had a guy threatened to assault me, and then did not any like serious assault, but he put his head against mine, and it ended up getting what's the word? Not getting charged. Like, he got charged, but it didn't get proven. So at that point, I was really early on in my career. I think it was maybe like my 4th or 5th video on the channel when it happened, and I thought, man, if this is what it's like, then I'm not doing it. But you chat to people, and people like, you can't control the outcome. All you can do is put the report in, and whatever happens with witnesses and whatever. It is what it is. And the second time I was refereeing, this was this season, and I gave a red card to a player who won the ball with their tackle, but then, in my opinion, they lifted their leg with studs deliberately and made contact like just below the knee. So for me, it was serious foul play. So I gave him a red card. And then that team complained to the National FA, complained to the County FA, refused to have me referee their games anymore, reported me for for filming without permission, even though that wasn't the case,
Right.
made fake emails to comment on my videos, like all sorts.
Right.
It was crazy.
Dude.
But I always think, man, if that's how people act when they know they're being filmed, like, imagine what it's like for the referees that don't have that level of accountability. And they are genuinely out there by themselves.
Yeah.
But to me, I find it easier because honestly, it sounds cliche or soppy. But when I'm out there and I know the game's being filmed, I don't actually feel like I'm refereeing by myself, because I know that next weekend, all of my members, all of my subscribers are going to watch what's happened, and then we're all going to talk about it. So although I am out there by myself, there are thousands of people watching, that are all going to see what's happening for good and for bad. So I don't particularly feel alone, but yeah, there have been three or four times where I've thought, no, this is really not for me. But then I think I personally wouldn't be happy with myself in the future if I just gave up because it got difficult. It's just not how I'm wired. Now, for some people, they have an experience that they absolutely feel like they cannot come back from, and I can totally understand that. But these situations were just difficult, not unbearable for me. So yeah, quitting's not really in my remit, to be honest.
I love that. Well, I'm really impressed with you. I just want to say, for anyone listening to this, if someone touches you, tries to put their head against yours to try and intimidate something like you, even just what we call unwanted touching in the United States in amateur soccer, match, youth or adult, it is a minimum 6-game suspension. Minimum. If they touch you in a way that's threatening, trying to intimidate you, it's a 6-month suspension. And that's part of the new referee abuse policy that we implemented in the United States last year. So I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I'm so sorry that your local football association didn't back you up on that one, because that's it's not okay.
Yeah, it's one of those, so how it works in England is the local FA put a charge against that person, so they do, but then what it happens is it goes to a national board where 3 members of a panel, they might be secretaries at clubs, they might be ex-referees, they might just be coaches in other teams in other areas of the country, and then they have a vote on it. So my local FA put the charge, they completely supported it, but unfortunately they voted that it was, in England you don't have to be proven guilty because obviously there's almost never cameras. It's just, was it more likely than not likely, and they deemed it to be not likely that it actually happened, which is up to them. There's not much you can do. But
yeah, just knowing that referees are there by themselves, come on. It's dude, support them. I tell you, that's why I'm a big supporter also of body cams and a big supporter of videoing games. I mean, I think this is important. I do think it gives us another level of accountability for us, and for the players. And I think it's a safety thing. I mean, again, there is something about having, this video here where people do think twice about how they act if they know it's being caught on video, and we need that support and protection out there so that we can do our jobs. That we can feel safe.
And for other players as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I've got a friend who had his leg broken in 3 places from a tackle just a few months back, and all you've got is just witnesses. Really, you don't have anything to go off. And I think, well, if that was there, then he'd probably gotten a bit more support because you could see what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's not just for referees; it's for everybody that plays and is involved in the game.
Yeah, especially with technology today, it's it's a no-brainer. So I want to just, as we kind of come towards a close here, talk to me about refereeing in England right now. Where is it, on a trajectory or the pendulum? Is it getting better right now? Creator like you doing what you're doing, and there seems to be more and more videos coming out from PGMOL and a little bit more transparency, a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit more. Is it getting better or worse at the grassroots level for referees?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I can only really speak from my own experience and people that I speak to. For the most part, people are not having major problems every weekend. I think it's a misconception that people have about refereeing. If you if you know 50 refs and you ask them how their weekend is, maybe one of them had a really, really crap game. You know, it's not, that's probably too common than it should be, but it's not ultra common. The good thing about refereeing in England is it's growing and we're getting more and more people into refereeing, which is great. And it's starting to represent the communities more and more as well. So they don't all look the same. They're not all the same. There's a lot more female referees, a lot more referees from ethnic minorities. It's like a better representation of what our culture is actually like, which I think is only good for the game. But there's a lot more referees coming in. There's a lot more incentives for younger referees to get into the game. You can progress quicker than you've been able to progress before. And hopefully, as a natural, I guess, consequence of that is the level of refereeing, which I think relates to the level of enjoyment should improve. That if there are more referees, you'll have more better referees, and better referees, I think, help facilitate a more enjoyable game for people. So I think it's good. Ultimately, there's still a lot of work to be done. I think we have like 36,000 refs or something like that, which is, you know, a drop in the ocean compared to somewhere like the US. Even though it's a much bigger country, we're probably not far away on the amount of people that play football in both countries.
Yeah, no, we're actually very
but
close. I think it's
yeah,
on the regular. I think it's like 20 million people in England. In the United States, it's, I mean, again, trust this number or not, it's like 26 million
yeah,
people. But the majority of those people who are playing are kids. You know, I mean, again,
yeah,
you're talking about, you know, U6, U7, U8.
yeah,
I think there's a far larger percentage of people in England who are adults who are playing every single weekend
yeah,
than there are here in the U.S. It's not so much in our culture historically as
yeah,
it is in England. In some cultures here in the United States, whether you're Mexican or you're from Central America or South America or some European countries, whatnot,
yeah,
they have a culture of playing throughout their life, and therefore, you know, we see those leagues, you know, in different parts of our country here, and it's growing. I mean, it's growing. There's
yeah,
more and more people who are playing football, you know, as a lifelong sport, as opposed to something they just do as a kid or a teenager. But it's good to hear the numbers are growing. Again, the big number for me is retention,
yeah,
is
for
how many
sure.
people are dropping out every single year. And right now, you know, we're losing between 60 to 80% of our referees every single year. And so
Wow.
you can't have that extremely high, you know, extremely low retention rate, if you will, if you want to develop great referees and have a great game. Because, you know, yeah, good referee, you're going to have a great game, you know, for the most part. If you got a really poor, untrained, you know, referee who can't keep that match control and doesn't have that foul recognition and practice safe refereeing, it's going to be a pretty ugly affair, and no one's going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Last question before we get into the bonus round. So if there was a player, okay, because you were just a player, but if there was a player who was on the fence about becoming a referee, you know, what would you tell them?
Oh, I would just say do it. And then if you've got to do it, and if they ask me why, I'd say because you would enjoy it way more than you think you would enjoy it. And what are you going to do if you don't referee? If you're going to stop playing, what are you going to do? Sit at home and watch football on a Saturday or whatever, or take up golf or something which no one truly enjoys. It's too difficult. So, you know, it's like, man, get back out there. Like, you still have that feeling of being out with the guys. When you have a good
Yes.
game, you're having a laugh with them. You're in the bar after having a drink and some food. When you're out in a team of three, you get that camaraderie of being in the changing rooms again. And you get to feel the buzz and the speed and the pressure of the game again. For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I can, not to say that people that have never played don't make good referees, but if you've played, there's certain skills and things in the game that you will pick up really, really quickly that other people don't have the context of. Like foul recognition. Like, you've felt it 100 times what it's like to be pushed in the back, or, you know, whatever it may be. Like, you inherently, there's something in you that knows the difference. And so, yeah, you can utilize that. You've got a great opportunity to progress, but 100% get into it. And if you don't like it, you can stop. But if you don't try, then you'll have no idea, will you?
Yeah, I will say that big thing that I'm starting to recognize more and more is the feeling of community and being a part of something. And there's so much data and information out right now that, you know, as a society, people are feeling more alone than ever. You know, as connected as, quote unquote, connected with these
Yeah.
devices that we have, we're missing human to human connection, and we're missing being a part of the community. I was walking around in California this past weekend at the State Cup, and you just see all these families with all the food together on their tables, and the little kids are running around, like the siblings are there, and the friendships are being made between
Yeah.
all of these adults. Okay, their 12-year-old kid or 13, whatever kid is playing a soccer game, but there's all these other people that are part of this community, and then that kid is also part of a team and part of that community as well, and you as the referee can be a part of that. Like,
Yeah.
you feel it, you're around it, you see that camaraderie, and you are a part of the game. You're not some separate, mechanical robot. Like, you're actually part of that game. You're part of that experience, and it feels freaking wonderful. Even when you have a tough match, it feels wonderful to be a part of that community. I just, honestly, I can't imagine it not being a part of my life. I loved it so much when my kids were playing. It would break my heart to be disconnected from it. It really would.
Yeah, I honestly, it's been such a major part of my life, all for as long as I can remember. I've loved football. I can't imagine not being involved in it in some way.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, hey, all right, we're going to go through the bonus round. We're going to wrap this up now.
Let's do it.
All right,
Quick
ready?
fire.
All right, this is a big one, Eric. All right,
Yeah.
Quick fire. If you could change one law of the game tomorrow, what would it be and why?
I'd make the 8-second rule the 12 or 15-second rule. I said it when it came out that it's a little bit too quick, and it's too quick for referees and it's too quick for players, in my opinion. I think make 8 seconds like 12 seconds and it would be perfect.
It's a lot of counting. You got to count high. You got to be able to count to 12.
That's true.
That's for sure. I would. My only caveat, and I actually like that it's sped up the game, and I hate always. It's funny. I'm a goalkeeper, but I hate when other teams waste time.
Yeah.
Right? I like it when I do it. I hate it when other people do it.
Exactly.
I would just say I want that for all restarts. I want it for just like futsal. I want it for corner kicks. I want it for goal kicks.
Yeah.
I want
Once you
it for
get to
throw-ins.
that ball, you've got that amount of time. Yeah, I could get on board with that.
I totally, and the amount of time gets wasted on a goal kick or just throw-ins at the end of the game.
Yeah,
is so frustrating. I'd love it for that to go as well, and just possession goes the other way. All right. Next thing, what is one thing in your referee bag that might surprise people that you carry? What's one thing you got in there that maybe most people don't?
I don't know. I travel light.
Ooh, wow. I travel outrageously heavy, unfortunately.
I travel so light. I'm trying to think what's in there. Probably the cash I got from last week's game. I always forget to take that out. So if you ever see my bag lying around, there's probably some notes in there. Yeah.
Dude, that is so funny. I literally just thought to myself, I probably didn't take out my cash from this weekend because it was a cash at field thing. I swear it is still in my ref bag right now, and that's so funny you say that. I never remember that either. It's so funny. That's great. I love it. All right. All right. What is the most bizarre or memorable thing you've heard someone yell at you from the sidelines?
That's lucky to be a yellow ref. It was reckless. Tickled me. That really tickled me. The fact that he literally used the definition of a yellow card and said it's lucky not to be red.
Yeah.
And then this is
actually someone quoting the laws of the game to you is definitely something that would be. I would have a double take and be like, "What? You're talking considerations here? Come on, what are you talking about?"
Not from the sideline, but the first match I ever refereed, a gentleman walked onto the pitch during the match. And he was a member of the local council, and he had basically stopped the game because the home team hadn't paid their rent for the pitch. And so he asked me to stop the game because they hadn't paid their rent. And I was basically like, mate, I'm not a debt collector. Like, you'll have to sort this out after the game. I have no authority for this. So that was really bizarre. So they did not teach me this on the course last week. Like, I have no idea what to do.
Dude, that's hilarious. I love that.
So
I'm not a debt collector. It's great. Yeah. All right. And the last one, we're going to finish on a positive note. What is the best compliment you've received as a referee? What's the best thing someone has said to you thus far? I love that you can remember the negative stuff, but as a referee, it's so hard to remember positive. But I'm gonna force you here. What's
it's not this difficult. I'm thinking of the line to go down. Like, I love it when players come up and you get 22 handshakes and they're like, you know what, thank you, ref. Like, you did well today. Like, that's always nice. But I remember getting one message from a player that plays at a higher level than I referee at, and he said, "Hey Eric, been watching the videos. Just wanted to say, like, thank you for making them." He's like, "It's actually opened my eyes to how I treat referees." And in my last game, I made a real effort to be approachable and talk to the referee. And then he sent me a screenshot of an email the referee had sent to the league, basically. I'm not sure the right word. Basically, lifting up the captain to say how enjoyable the game was with him being, with him cooperating and making the game enjoyable. And he was like, "I actually enjoyed the game a lot more, and my relationship with referees has got better." And I was at that point, I was only about 6 to 8 weeks into the channel, and I was like, "No, this is what it's all about," because that's made an impact further than just my games. That's gone to a player who's then treated another referee differently. That referee's then fed back that positive things, and so that's naturally just going to have a snowball effect, right? He's going to do that every week if he remembers. That was probably the biggest compliment for the videos. I was like, that's really worth doing.
Man, you're bringing tears to my eyes. I love the saying, "A pebble dropped in the ocean creates a wave that will land on a distant shore," and that's what you're doing. I mean, through your videos. I mean, and by the way, your videos are getting millions upon millions of views on these different platforms, and by doing what you're doing, you're changing hearts and minds, and it is going to have a positive impact, on the game. And that's just one small example. I bet it's happened thousands of times now. You just heard about that one, but no, you have an immense impact. And Eric, I just want to say thank you so much for making the time to come on to our podcast. Can you tell everyone who's listening or watching, if they're going to watch this on YouTube, where they can find you? What's your handle? Where they can find you?
Yeah, so you find me on all social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, even Threads. I'm not on X, it's the only one I'm not on. And it's very simple, it's just @BehindTheWhistle. And you can find it all there. On YouTube, I break down the games in longer form, and on the short form platforms, they're more like snippets, nuggets of things. It's been going well. So if anyone wants to go and watch, they can find me there, and I look forward to seeing. Tell me that David sent you, and then I'll know where you've come from.
That's awesome, man. Eric Edge, right? Is your last name?
Right,
yes. It's a wonderful last name, by the way. I love it. Eric Edge. It's like a DJ. It's like a radio host or something like that. Eric Edge on the mic, man, dude. I loved this conversation. Honestly, I feel like we could talk for hours. We may have to have a round two and have you back another time, especially as we get close to World Cup as well. It's just you're doing amazing work, man. Don't stop. Don't stop, on the pitch. Don't stop with the videos that you're putting out. I love your approach. I encourage everyone out there, subscribe to his channels. You will not be disappointed. Trust me, he's fantastic. Again, everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Just as a reminder, please, support the Refs Need Love To store online. Everything gets poured back into making this channel possible. And as always, I hope your next match is red card free.